In the stillness of their evening, beneath the low hum of the ceiling fan and the soft clinking of utensils in the kitchen, Ada's fingers trembled as she turned the pages of a diary she wasn't meant to find. Her husband, Jide, had always been a quiet man, disciplined, respected, a provider, but that book held a voice she had never heard before. The entries began as reflections, but over time they descended into confessions, of rage, of control, of a darkness he had kept buried for years. She closed the diary, her breath caught in her throat. Was this the same man who laughed at family gatherings, who kissed her forehead before work, who held her hand at night? Ada couldn't sleep. She lay in bed with her eyes wide open, feeling Jide's breath beside her, steady and unaware. Morning brought no peace. She boiled yams for breakfast, her hands moving mechanically while her thoughts spiraled. That evening, she finally gathered the courage to confront him. She laid the diary on the wooden dining table, opened to the most recent page. Jide walked in, sweaty from his carpentry shop, wiping his forehead with a cloth. He froze at the sight of the open book, his expression unreadable. "You never thought I'd find it, did you?" Ada said softly, trying to steady her voice. Jide's jaw clenched. He said nothing. "I read it all. Every word. The anger. The thoughts. The things you dream about doing to me. To others." In that moment, the room seemed to shrink. Jide's calm turned cold. He stepped forward slowly, his towering frame looming over her. "You shouldn't have touched that," he muttered.
Ada took a step back, her voice louder now. "What is it, Jide? What have you become?" His eyes darkened, and suddenly, the man she once knew disappeared. He grabbed her shoulders, not in the way a husband embraces a wife, but like someone grasping control. Her scream pierced the air, but there was no one nearby to hear. Yet even in fear, Ada's eyes didn't show weakness. They reflected shock, yes, but also realization. This was not new. She had felt this shift for months, in his words, in his silence, in his anger when things didn't go his way. She just didn't want to believe it. The diary had only confirmed what her heart already knew: Jide was no longer the man she married. Maybe he never was. As the confrontation intensified, the candles in the room flickered, casting shadows across the walls. In that moment, everything changed, not just between them, but within her. For Ada, it was the beginning of escape, not just from her husband, but from the silence she had lived in far too long. The sun set slowly behind the dusty windows, casting a golden hue over the living room as silence settled over the house. From the outside, Jide and Ada's home looked like a dream: neatly painted walls, blooming hibiscus flowers by the gate, and the warm glow of evening light filtering through the curtains. But behind the doors, a different story played out, one no neighbor, no friend, no family member could have imagined. Ada had once believed in fairy tales. Raised by loving parents, she had carried hope into her marriage. In the early years, Jide was gentle, attentive, a man who praised her cooking and bought her jewelry every festival. But slowly, things began to shift. At first, it was the sharp tone in his voice when she disagreed. Then came the rules: what she could wear, who she could see, what time she should sleep. She told herself it was love. That he only wanted what was best. But deep down, her laughter began to fade. On that particular evening, after their quiet dinner, she noticed Jide watching her with strange intensity. "You disobeyed me again," he said flatly, voice devoid of emotion. Ada's heart skipped a beat. She frowned, confused. "What did I do?" "You went to visit Ngozi. I told you she fills your head with nonsense. Didn't I warn you?" Ada stood frozen. "She's my friend. She's all I have." Without warning, Jide closed the space between them. His strong hands gripped her shoulders as if trying to shake obedience into her. She gasped, not just from the pain but from the disbelief. He wasn't just angry. He was trying to dominate her spirit. Ada's eyes widened, reflecting years of silenced pain, of ignored bruises, emotional and otherwise. In that moment, she realized this was never going to change. What happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors, Jide whispered, tightening his grip. No, she whispered back. Not anymore. The courage in her voice startled him. She pushed him away with unexpected strength and back toward the table where her phone lay. Her fingers trembled as she pressed a number she'd saved months ago but never dared to call. A women's shelter. A lifeline. He stared at her, stunned. You wouldn't. I already did, she said. This ends now. The door no longer felt like a wall, it was a way out. And this house, which once felt like a prison, was just 4 walls she was ready to leave behind. The police sirens outside faded into the night as Ada sat on a hospital bed, her hands tightly gripping a warm cup of tea. The sterile smell of antiseptic mixed with the soft hum of machines, and she stared ahead, her eyes dry, yet heavy with a lifetime of unshed tears. A nurse quietly entered, offering a blanket. The counselor will be with you shortly, she said gently. Ada nodded. She never imagined herself here. Hours earlier, she had been on the verge of breaking, her voice trapped in the walls of a home that was no longer a sanctuary. The scars on her arms told a story that no one else had seen, until now. She was tired of covering them up, tired of smiling through the pain, tired of pretending. When the counselor arrived, Ada hesitated. Words danced on her tongue but refused to leave. She looked at the woman across from her, calm, kind, a stranger. And yet, something in her presence felt safe. I didn't think I would survive tonight, Ada began, her voice trembling. The counselor leaned in. You did. You're here now. That means something. And with that, it poured out, years of silent suffering, of whispered apologies after violence, of loneliness in a house full of fear. She spoke about how Jide wasn't always like this, how she waited for the man she married to return. But that man was gone, buried under control and rage. I thought love meant endurance, Ada said. But now I see. Love doesn't leave bruises. The counselor gently reached for her hand. You are brave, Ada. So many never find the strength to speak. But you did. And now, we help you rebuild. The next few days were a blur of paperwork, therapy sessions, and relocation plans. Ada learned about her rights, about legal support, and about other women who had walked similar paths and reclaimed their lives. When she moved into the safe house, it was small but peaceful. There were fresh sheets on the bed, a shelf full of books, and sunlight that streamed through the window without judgment. One morning, as she stepped outside into the shared garden, she saw other women chatting and laughing. They had also endured storms, but here they were, blooming again. A woman named Amara walked up to her and offered a flower. For strength, she smiled. Ada took it, tears returning, this time not of fear, but of relief. She had finally spoken. And in that truth, she found freedom. If her story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because this is Text to Heart, where stories speak to your soul and awaken your spirit.